You are listening to the 2 and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Happy New Year! It's Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones, the 2 and Out CFL podcast. Man, I don't know what it's like in your neck of the woods, Sheldon, but it's been just blizzardy and miserable in my neck of the woods for the last week or so. The wind has been crazy. So last Saturday, I was driving home. My wife and I went out for supper, and then the blizzard was so, like, you couldn't see 3 feet in front of the car. Then the car in front of us, I could see their taillights, and then I couldn't see their taillights because they were in the ditch. So we turned around and made sure they were okay before getting our butts home. But I know you've had some struggles with the winter weather this week as well.
Yeah, we luckily haven't had that much snow, but it's just been cold. Like, it's been bone-chilling cold and truck not starting even when it's plugged in cold.
Ouch.
Yeah. But, you know, it was nice out today, and tomorrow it's going to be not too bad. So I think we got through it this time, but I'm sure it'll be back in a week or two.
Yeah.
It's just cold.
It reminds us how far away, but close, I'm ever the optimist, at least I try to be, from the CFL season, because the schedule came out a little bit later than we're used to seeing the schedule come out. I know that the league is going to promote the rest and teams not playing on 4-day turnarounds and things like that, but I'm sure we'll find plenty of reasons to complain about the schedule as we get right back into the thick of things. It's going to open in Regina this season. Ottawa is coming to town. Thursday night football in the Queen City. We got a ways to go until then. I did notice there's no touchdown games, which it's been a while since we've said that for the CFL. No games in Atlantic Canada. I know last year we did the Western Canada one in Victoria for touchdown Pacific, but was there anything else that stood out to you on the schedule? I do think that the July 3rd game in Calgary, the night before the Calgary Stampede officially kicks off, the Bombers in town, I think that's a pretty good opportunity. The Stamps usually try to avoid Calgary Stampede. I know that McMahon Stadium's kind of out of the way when it comes to the rest of the events in Calgary, but I mean, the whole city's in a party atmosphere. Might as well at least take part in it somehow at McMahon Stadium.
Yeah, and here in Regina, for a long time, they used to try to schedule around the exhibition too, but then they decided to put a game on during, and it actually worked out really well for them. So hopefully that happens in Calgary there. The rest of the schedule, you know, I don't need to see the Bombers 5 times in one season with preseason included there. That's a little excessive for the Riders and Bombers to play 5 times.
Unless the Riders win 4 out of 5, I don't think they'll be complaining come November.
No, that's fine. That's fair. That is fair. I'm just expecting to lose 4 out of 5. But other than that, I wanted to shout out a couple teams for their schedule release videos on Twitter. There was or everywhere, I guess, all social media. The Elks with the Will It Blend, that was really funny.
I saw some controversy out of that one with blending they blended a mini Grey Cup, didn't they?
Yeah. I don't know. I was entertained. That's all that matters there.
Well, it's the internet. You're always going to make somebody mad.
Well, yeah. And then we talk about the Bombers. and they're like dating profiles or whatever, and they're not so subtle shot at a certain quarterback. That was tip my hat to them. That was pretty funny. But a couple boos, because I think it was the Argos and the Alouettes didn't even do a video. That's kind of sad, but hopefully next year they have the schedule out a little bit earlier, so we don't have to listen to all the, well, and engage in as well all the bitching about the schedule not coming out, and because people do get used to it at a certain time and they try to plan their holidays and stuff like that out. So hopefully, whatever the hiccup was this year, they can figure that out and get it out before Christmas next year.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago. Didn't we have to wait till February, March? A few years ago, we got spoiled and we got used to it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's the thing about when you start giving something out consistently. If you change from that, it just gets people upset.
Now, there's been a lot of news since we last did a show. We're going to try to get to it all in an efficient manner. I'm not a very efficient person, but I will definitely try. Some big news this week was the Riders getting their new running back coach, and that is Andrew Harris. He'd recently, I guess, last year his only year doing the GM thing with the Vancouver Island Raiders, the team he played with in junior football before making the jump to pro. But clearly Andrew Harris has a relationship with the starting running back in Saskatchewan and AJ Ouellette, and I would assume Corey Mace as well, who spent time in Toronto. So you have to think that those previous relationships played a role in Andrew Harris coming to Saskatchewan. But it is funny. He was public enemy number one in Regina for many years. Now he will be wearing green and white on the sideline, and I just love it.
Yeah, I'm here for chaos, and it's pretty cool. Like, honestly, so you can say what you want about him, the caliber of running back that he is, and the championships that he's won, and all of that, you can't deny. And it's funny seeing Bomber fans kind of taking the low road and now starting to make fun of him about his performance enhancing issues.
Oh yeah, he's a traitor all of a sudden, and it's fun.
It's kind of fun seeing the saltiness, and it's also fun seeing people who are very anti Andrew Harris welcoming the move because they're realizing that it's actually a good move. And I don't think we've actually talked about the other addition to the Riders that this guy might have to eat a little bit of crow about from last season, Jake Maier.
We haven't talked about Jake Maier yet?
We have not.
The mayor of Regina.
Could be. He might be running in that next election. You never know.
He goes to Saskatchewan. So was it a trade with Calgary just for some picks, and then he ended up extending? So he's going to be a Rider next year along with Trevor Harris, as the quarterback situations around the league they're all kind of clearing up. We'll get to more of them as we go on here. But Maier and Harris kind of, I guess, similar styles. We'll put it that way when it comes to quarterbacks here, and he's still young in the league, and I don't know. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks take forever to put it together and win a championship, and I think him being together with Harris at least brings the experience to the team. If Harris does go down, has health issues in Saskatchewan over the past couple of years, I think it's a good move for Saskatchewan. But it is kind of funny. Battling with our favorite Calgary fans throughout 2024. And now Mayor's in green and white.
Yeah, it is funny. And it's a great move. I will eat some crow because, a lot of times when I called out Jake Maier, I was also saying that his receivers weren't helping him and his O-line wasn't helping him. And so he had a really good season when he was working with Mark Mueller before too. So that's another thing that I think might help him. But getting to be mentored by Trevor Harris for at least one season could do nothing but good, I think, for him. So we'll see how often he might need to play this season. Trevor's missed multiple games, 2 seasons in a row for the Riders. So it's certainly possible and more likely probable that he will see some time in there. So, we'll have to see how it goes. And I'm welcome. I love eating crow, and it turns out to be something good for my team. So I'll chow down on it every day. But I just didn't want to miss that.
I had a buddy, Chris, text me when Maier ended up being a Rider, and the text was basically, 160 characters of ha 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 ha. So some Calgary fans are eager to unload Jake Maier as well. A former Rough Rider making news this week, a very interesting story in the CFL, as Loucheiz Purifoy, and this came first, announced as being released by the Elks, but then it wasn't long after that when we found out that there was more to the story. He'd be suspended for 2 games for violating the CFL's drug policy for use of amphetamines. Well, shortly after that, the CFLPA releasing a statement that they're protesting the CFL suspension of Loucheiz Purifoy, saying that his drug test detected Adderall, a commonly prescribed medication for ADHD. And this is actually in the protest. He was prescribed the treatment with Adderall going forward. He got the medical evaluation, confirmed the psychologist's diagnosis, and the CFL told the Elks to not apply for an exemption, which would have allowed an independent medical review of his case. Instead, the league chose a path ensuring suspension, disregarding relevant medical facts. That's what the CFLPA statement says. Man, this is a very interesting story being kind of played out in front of the public, man.
Yeah, it just, it always seems like something like this will happen where a majority of people might think that the league has not done something correct, and it's a little bit of bad publicity for the league. Now, we don't know all the facts. We just know what, the PA has said and what the league has said, but it just, player safety isn't just on-field safety. Mental health is a part of that. And if he has a mental health issue that needs to be, on medication for, he certainly should be able to have that exemption. I don't know exactly how much, the prescription would be as opposed to what it might, enhance his performance. I don't know about that, but I certainly think that more talking and more, mediation and should have happened here, just because even for it to be on the lid, because I think it was in like August when he was tested positive, right? So for it to not get out is actually pretty surprising back then. But so it would seem like maybe there was some sort of arbitration process here, and they haven't officially said that, just because of the length of time it's taken to get this out here. But it's also just kind of fishy how the Elks were just able to just release them without this knowledge being public first, and that's not really fair to the player, I don't think. And and especially with Loucheiz being a member of the CFLPA, a rep for his team, like that's it's an interesting, eye-raising situation here that hopefully the league can recover from and find a better solution here.
Yeah, he's been in the league for almost 10 years, and something like this, getting suspended for violating the drug policy, that paints the player in a pretty poor light. And that can damage a guy's reputation pretty quickly. But when you get all the facts in there, all of a sudden there's a lot of gray area in this one. And from the stuff that has been released, I'm inclined to side with the player on this one. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes. Now, we kind of saw this one coming, I think, out of Hamilton. James Butler, the running back, gets released. And then it wasn't long after that, he's back in a team that he played 21 games with, and that is the BC Lions. So I wondered what they would do with William Stanback. Well, Stanback gets, let go early, and he is already signed with Ottawa. So a bit of a running back shuffle there. And then if we stay with the BC Lions, not only is James Butler back in that offense, but Mathieu Betts is back in that defense. Now, he came on, I guess, in the middle of 2024. He finished that half of the season with the team. But I see that contract, man. $260,000 in hard money in 2025 with some bonuses that could take him up to near $270K. And then $270K in hard money in 2026. I know he set the record for sacks by a Canadian not long ago, but that is big money, man. And I don't know if I was a GM, if I would spend that kind of cash on Mathieu Betts.
Yeah, it seems to be every year there's a certain position or a certain player that just decide, or that they get this, really big deal, and good for the player. I'm always going to be happy if players getting these deals, but it just seems like it kind of, gets so inflated that it like changes the market of the teams and the players. Like you look at Geno Lewis getting in the 300,000s for a receiver, and now, basically being told that he's not going to get that in Edmonton and to test free agency. So I think they have to be careful, because Mathieu Betts is a hell of a player, but I'm not. Yeah, just like you said, that's a lot of money to put on one player, especially, not discounting what he does on the defense, but it's not like I don't know what I'm saying there. I'm not gonna continue that. It's a steep price.
Hey, I understand he's a Canadian, can be a bit of a ratio breaker that way, but we saw the tweets from Willie Jefferson following the Grey Cup, and we know the impact that he has on a team. He's not always, getting close to 20 sacks kind of thing, but he impacts the game in many ways. Did Willie Jefferson get in that range from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? I don't see that one being public information as of right now, but
I thought I saw it was 200.
Okay, see, I saw that. All of a sudden, if he makes $60K less than Mathieu Betts, I understand he's American, but I'm taking that contract every day of the week if I'm comparing the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. There's a little bit of age difference between the two of them. I think that could factor into that as well. But Willie Jefferson played one of the best games of his career in the Grey Cup this year here. So he obviously still has it, and he's worth money for sure. And I'm not saying Mathieu Betts isn't, but Willie Jefferson has done more than Mathieu Betts has in a longer time. So it'll be interesting to see. Out of the two of them, let's see the numbers at the end of the year to see how the stats work out, as opposed to how much money they both equally made.
But yeah, the pressure's on, man. And if he has 19 sacks or something crazy in 2025, I guess I'll be eating my socks live on YouTube. Speaking of D lineman, the former most outstanding defensive player, Lorenzo Malden IV, is staying with Ottawa. The REDBLACKS have also extended their quarterback, Drew Brown, through 2026. And they made an interesting trade with the Argos, bringing Canadian running back and special teamer Daniel Adeboboye to the fold. So they've got him, they've got Devontae Williams, who missed much of last season with an injury. They've got William Stanback. Now, I do think they look at Adeboboye sort of in the special teams role at this time. He can certainly contribute in the offense when his number gets called as well. But the REDBLACKS making some interesting moves. I wasn't going to talk about it here now, but might as well, because Rick Campbell is back. He's coaching the special teams, and William Fields, who was just a co-DC in the Grey Cup winning Toronto Argonauts team, is the DC in Ottawa. I really like their offseason so far.
Yeah, a lot of people were kind of wondering about the move of bringing back Campbell there, and if Dice was just hiring his replacement, but it seems like he's not worried about that, and he just wants to get a good coach in the building, and it makes sense for Rick to get back into doing something this season. There wasn't a head coaching or job for him, but he obviously wants to coach. He's still young enough, and he'll get another opportunity eventually. So, but we'll have to see if it's with the Red Blacks if they aren't able to make as many strides as it looks like they may be in line to do. Because I agree with you, they've added some quality players, not only in the starting but in special teams like Adeboboye.
And speaking of the Toronto Argonauts, they have signed running back Kevin Brown, who was released by the Edmonton Elks, and it was just the way things shook out last season. When the Elks got Trey Ford in, and they put Javon Leake on the offense, and they bring Justin Rankin to the offense as well, they were running the ball like crazy, and Kevin Brown just didn't fit into the plans anymore. So he is off to Toronto, and then a very interesting couple trades that the Argos have made. They sent offensive lineman Dejon Allen to the BC Lions, which is, I think, a big acquisition for BC. They also trade Flo Orimolade, who still had a year on his contract, to Calgary for Cam Judge. Now, Cam Judge has extended, so he's staying in Toronto, but the Argos look like they're trying to get rid of some money here. And there was sort of this unverified tweet that the Argos are really trying to save some money. Of course, they're paying quarterback Chad Kelly a lot of cash, and they do have a pending free agent who he may not get the attention that a Geno Lewis will get in a couple weeks if he is a free agent, but Wynton McManus is still pending, and this guy is an absolute monster that would be an addition to any defense in the Canadian Football League. So I don't know if the Argos are trying to free up some money that they can make McManus another offer, or if they're just trying to balance the books with the big Chad Kelly contract. But they've lost some quality guys during this offseason, and I guess that's what happens after going to the Grey Cup 2 of the past 3 years.
Yeah, I would hope that they are trying to get McManus extended, because under the radar for sure, but he's one of the best defensive players in the league, and he deserves to be paid that way. He probably is one of the guys who should be up in the conversation with Willie Jefferson and Mathieu Betts to be one of the highest paid defensive players, just because it seems like he's involved in almost every single tackle. It's unreal. He has just an incredible motor on him, and hopefully for Argo fans, they can get him locked in. But if not, then whatever team is going to get him is going to instantly be near the top of the linebackers there.
Now, if we talk about the quarterback situation, there was a deal that ended up going down in December where Cody Fajardo goes to Edmonton, and then McLeod Bethel-Thompson goes to Montreal. Now, both quarterbacks have signed through the upcoming season, but I was just thinking out loud, things have gone really crazy. Now, think about the last few Grey Cups. Nick Arbuckle starts and wins for the Toronto Argonauts. In 2023, Cody Fajardo starts and wins for the Montreal Alouettes. 2022, McLeod Bethel-Thompson starts the game for the Argos, doesn't finish the game. Chad Kelly comes in, but the Argos win the Grey Cup. Now, the three starting quarterbacks for the last two Grey Cup winners don't have starting jobs going into this season. That's wild. Now the Elks going with Trey Ford and the Als going with Davis Alexander. Clearly, the insurance policies they have in McLeod Bethel-Thompson and Cody Fajardo are very strong. very strong. But I feel like quarterbacks of that caliber that have had success in this league could create a little bit of drama going into next season. And it's going to create a lot of discussion among fans. I can see it happening right now.
Yeah, and particularly both of those guys, Cody Fajardo and Loucheiz Purifoy, they're not very hesitant to share their emotions and share how they feel when it comes to talking to the media and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how much of team players they are. I think both of them kind of realize that's what it is right now for them. But I think Cody has a real shot at even becoming a starter again, because Trey Ford's had a couple chances at it, and if it doesn't work out again, hopefully they do stick with him and don't just, if something doesn't happen in the first few games, pull him. But I think Montreal is definitely more likely to ride out a little bit of uneasiness with Davis Alexander just because they've been developing him for a few years. But I can't remember a time in my CFL fandom the amount of talent at the backup quarterback position when you have guys like Cody Fajardo, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, Jake Maier, and Nick Arbuckle. If you get there's legitimately 12 or 13 starting quarterbacks in this 9-team league right now. So usually we've been talking about, not having as many star quarterbacks as we were used to in the, I guess, I don't want to say the golden area, but for us, I guess the golden area of like the 90s and early 2000s when there was just all of these greats. So it's interesting to see the new guard kind of take over, but the old guard's still there to have that watchful eye and trying to still clutch to the ball.
So it does seem like the quarterback situations are pretty solid going into the year. We'll go west to east. It's going to be Rourke in BC. It's going to be VA in Calgary. Trey Ford in Edmonton. Saskatchewan's going to be Trevor Harris. It's going to be Zach Collaros in Winnipeg. Bo Levi Mitchell in Hamilton. They've restructured the contract. Throughout last year, it kind of looked like things were going to be shaky for Bo Levi Mitchell. He finished the year looking great. So he's restructured his deal to stay in the Hammer. We know we have Chad Kelly in Toronto, Drew Brown in Ottawa, and Davis Alexander in Montreal. And yeah, there's a lot of backups with experience. Like you mentioned, Taylor Powell in Hamilton, even. Dustin Crum extended in Ottawa. They got a lot of backup experience there as well. Jeremiah Masoli was there last year. He won a game in Calgary. So there's a lot of experience kicking around, and it's definitely good to see. And some new guys coming up and making things exciting for sure. We do talk about Winnipeg. I do think maybe backup quarterback is a weakness for that team. And maybe that is why they stuck with Zach Collaros when he got injured in the Grey Cup. They didn't trust what they had at backup quarterback. But certainly interesting. They don't have an offensive coordinator at this point of the offseason. And they're probably going to be saying goodbye to first ballot Hall of Fame CFL player in Adam Bighill. He has experienced some injury issues over the last couple of years, but definitely a leader on the field, whether he was playing in BC or with Winnipeg. And it does look like an injury is going to keep him off the field this year until halfway through the year, kind of a Labor Day anyway. So it does look like they're not going to be offering Adam Bighill a contract there. Receiver Ontario Wilson had a nice year for the Bombers. He has signed a deal with the New York Jets, so he's going to be trying the NFL in 2025. So the Elks released receiver Dylan Mitchell, which means he gets to go to Winnipeg and try his hand out in that offense. He has been a deep threat. I think he still has bright years ahead in the CFL. That's a nice little addition for that Winnipeg offense, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting with the uncertainty they have there about who's going to be running the offense. But for them to be able to, replace Ontario Wilson with Dylan Mitchell, I'd say that's a pretty good thing. But, they still have the looming question of who, if they're not going to get both, who are they keeping between Lawler and Schoen? Because I don't know if they're going to have enough money to get both. I know that, last year they were able to get all of them, but I don't know if that's going to be the case this year because, these guys are going to want to get paid.
It's definitely interesting because Schoen, he missed like all of last year with an injury. So it's an interesting situation for the Bombers to be in. Absolutely. If we do talk about the Elks, they were able to sign wide receiver Trey Odoms-Dukes, who got released by Calgary. Now, 2 years ago, I liked what Odoms-Dukes did with the Stampeders, but he didn't crack the roster last year. He didn't get onto there. And we know that Ed Hervey, because he himself was a big-bodied physical receiver. He's going to look for guys like that. He tried to do that in Hamilton when he was the GM, and I think he's going to bring that philosophy back to Edmonton. The Elks were also able to sign offensive lineman Martez Ivey. It's going to be good for the green and gold and Trey Ford to have Ivey back on the O-line for that team. Their punter, all-star punter, MVP, Jake Julian, he's off to try the National Football League, and I do think a very interesting signing by the Elks as well, Canadian defensive lineman Jonathan Kongbo. It does seem like he's got the physical tools. He's got the ability. Can he focus and put in the effort to make it happen on the field? So by this time, I know he spent time with Winnipeg. He spent time with Hamilton. If he can put it together and contribute in Edmonton, that might be a pretty good signing for that team. If we do talk about the BC Lions, Bo Lacombo, the Canadian linebacker, retires after 10 years of pro ball. I had a joy watching Bo Lacombo. The guy can hit. He was a great linebacker to watch, but they were able to extend number one shutdown corner Gary Peters always against the toughest receivers in the CFL and always holds his own, man.
Yeah, good for them that he's back. Just because, like you said, he is the definition of a shutdown corner. You rarely ever hear his name. That's how good he is.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want out of a DB, and I guess that means we can talk about the coaching staff in Vancouver. Of course, Buck Pierce is going to be the head coach, but Ryan Phillips, staying with the team, gets a demotion here. He's going to be coaching the secondary, and he's going to be the pass game coordinator. Returning to the team is Mike Benavides. He is the defensive coordinator now with the BC Lions. He's been in BC before, a familiar face on the West Coast, but I think that's good for Buck Pierce to have some guys with serious CFL experience on the sideline with him in his first season as a head coach.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that I kind of wanted to have here in Saskatchewan with Corey Mace. You want to have somebody who's been there, done that, who can just be that extra voice in the room for situations when it comes to something maybe they've seen this before and they're able to give a little bit of insight. So for Buck Pierce to have Mike Benavides, I think that's really good. And yeah.
Now, if we go to Calgary, I always think that sometimes it's tough for BC because they don't have many natural rivals. Well, I actually think it's going to be Calgary going forward. And now that Vernon Adams Jr. is in Calgary, I'm looking forward to those two teams playing in 2025. They were able to extend Reggie Bagleton for 2 years. They were able to extend Orimalade. He already had the contract for 2025. He's through Calgary at least through 2026. And Calgary's pass rush, it didn't get it done last year. With the addition of Flo, all of a sudden, quarterbacks are going to need to pay attention to that defense in Calgary. They're another team that I think has made some good moves in this offseason. They have said that they're going to be spending in free agency. Calgary normally doesn't do that. So it's going to continue being an interesting offseason there. Vernon Adams Jr., I think he's actively recruiting to bring players to Cowtown.
Yeah, he's really good at that. He's the kind of guy who I think a lot of people want to play for and play with. So having him, out there is going to be a big help for them. I agree with you. I think Calgary has really, at least on paper, improved quite a bit. We'll have to see if Dave is able to juggle the responsibilities a little better so that maybe his coaching can get a little better, because I think that's still a pretty big issue with the team. But you can't deny that they have become better with not only the trades but the signings.
They've also got some former players joining the coaching staff in Calgary. Ucombre Williams, longtime offensive lineman, is joining the team as assistant offensive line coach and running backs coach. A CFL legend, John Bowman, is the defensive line coach in Calgary, and Baron Miles, most recently with Ottawa, is the DB coach in Calgary. They got a lot going on there. They're making a lot of moves, and I know everybody was tough on Dave Dickinson last year. I think he was tough on himself and his performance, and to me it looks like they're being accountable and they're making those changes. I know you said that Jake Maier, well, he is off to Regina, but otherwise pretty quiet on the prairies. Jameer Thurman extended for 2 years in Saskatchewan, but I think for fans of the Riders, that is a good thing. A lot of times, the teams that have the most changes in the offseason come into the offseason with the most expectations. But to me, I think one of the biggest things you can have is continuity. It kind of seems like the Riders have sort of established that, and they really just want to go head-to-head, punch for punch with Winnipeg and whoever else wants to contend for the West, because Winnipeg's got that continuity as well, and it's going to be another great battle to get that West Division crown next year.
Yeah, Malik Carney also was re-signed this last week. So, and then I read today that talks are ongoing and looking positive with Marcus Sayles. So, like you said, I think last year Corey Mace was able to put his stamp on the team and get his players. And I know this is what he's hoping for, that the veterans on that team are now going to become that voice that he can pull back his voice a little bit and let the team kind of run themselves. That's what it seems like he's kind of interested in, having the players be a lot more accountable to each other. And, getting Jameer Thurman back, I would say he's definitely the quarterback of the defense. He kind of took over that role from Larry Dean while still getting Larry Dean's input, as he's still with the team as a community consultant, I believe. So, getting, and we were able to see him at Grey Cup, and I chatted with him, and he definitely said that he was looking forward to being back. So I'm glad that he got that 2-year deal, and hopefully he can, heal up and not have to play half a season with a pretty bad injury in his elbow, and we'll see even better things from him next year.
Elsewhere in the CFL off the field, Brent Monson recently was the coach of the defense in Calgary. He's going to be the DC in Hamilton. And the Elks revealing their coaching staff, where, a lot of things were confirmed. Jordan Maximic is the OC and assistant head coach, moving from BC to Edmonton. J.C. Sherritt moves from Saskatchewan to Edmonton as J.C. Sherritt takes a promotion here. He's the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach for the Elks. Demetrius Maxey is coaching the special teams there, and we see Jason Tucker back in green and gold. He's coaching the receivers, and Aaron Grimes coaching the DBs, which I think he's kind of been doing anyway for a little while here, but that's the Elks coaching staff, and I do think that Battle of Alberta is going to have a little extra oomph to it in 2025 as well, and I'm so looking forward to watching those games. Some more off the field stuff. Well, I guess this does affect the field. Fans in Ottawa are going to be seeing some changes over the next little while. They're building a new event center there. Now, that thing is, I think, going to be starting construction this fall and be completed by the fall of 2027. And then after that, they're going to actually change the whole north side in Ottawa. And that's the side of the stadium that has the roof. It's not going to have a roof anymore. They're going to reconstruct it, I guess, from start, which means that the 28 and 2029 seasons in Ottawa are going to be played with a reduced capacity. Very interesting stuff out of Ottawa, but they had this big vision right from the start. They're going to complete it, and it looks like that is a big part of completing Lansdowne in the nation's capital. I wonder if this means that the 2027 Grey Cup will be in Ottawa before they start tearing down the north side stands, because then or maybe they're waiting until 2030 when it's all completed. I don't know. But I wonder if 2027 obviously puts us back out east after 2026 is in Calgary, this coming year in Winnipeg, maybe back in Ottawa. And it's a great city to have a Grey Cup in, man. That last one was awesome in 2017.
I hope it's there, because I would love to go there.
Yeah, it's a great city. You can wear shorts in November, and, well, maybe you get judged by the locals, but...
Yeah, I don't care. I'll wear them. I'll wear them.
And yeah, if you're hungry for CFL YouTube content, get to the BC Lions YouTube channel. That Arrow Up series was amazing and has been amazing for a little while. The work that they do there is awesome, and they have released the first 2 episodes already this year. Have you watched any of it?
I haven't got to yet, but hoping to tomorrow. I'm very excited. It looks really cool.
Yeah, the access they get, the production value, obviously, yeah, great work by the BC Lions, and I'll put it up on a card here, whatever ends up on YouTube, so it'll be easy for you to find. Now, Sheldon, I don't know why you did this, but actually, you know what? Everybody was kind of cool. There was somebody challenging us to a fight, but am I correct there? But on X...
Fake gainer, of course. Okay. Vintage Sasko. And yes, we'll fight. Come on our podcast, you coward.
You put it out on X to ask us questions, and Derek asks what CFL stadium has the best food to offer, and I don't think this will surprise you, Sheldon. This won't surprise any diehard fans of Two and Out. It's McMahon Stadium. It totally is McMahon Stadium. The fact that I can buy about a 1 pound russet potato and put another 1.5 pounds of toppings on it for like $10. Where else in the CFL you can get brisket there? You can get a pulled pork parfait layered in a cup with pulled pork and mashed potatoes. You eat it like an ice cream sundae. That's Calgary, baby. And it maybe has the crappiest stadium in the CFL, but they got the best food. So I'll sell the McMahon Stadium food experience to anyone. That's my answer.
Yeah, I haven't ever had the food at McMahon. I've been there twice, but we had a lot of liquid, but we didn't have much food. But for sure, this year at Grey Cup, in 2 years at Grey Cup, I'm definitely getting that potato if I don't get there sooner than that.
So Josh asks, when are we going for Chinese, Travis? Well, couple things. I'm trying to watch my sodium intake, and I have booked a few vacations, so I'm really broke. So if you're buying, anytime, man.
GoFundMe will be in the bio.
Connor asks if the boys are coming down to Toronto for a long overdue Argo tailgate. Well, I did just talk about how broke I was. So not this year, but I do want to get to BMO for a game again. I do know that the Argos Fancast boys once in a while do like deep fried pierogies at the tailgate. So yeah, I want to get to an Argo tailgate and hang with the champs. But yeah, if something happens and I don't know, I collect 1 million air miles, maybe I'll come to Toronto for a game this year. But that one's on the list. I want to get back out east.
Same.
And the last time I was at a game at BMO Field, I don't know if I must have talked about it on the podcast. Got scammed out of tickets. So the CFL actually hooked my brother and I up with tickets to the Grey Cup in the family and friends section for the Calgary Stampeders. But we were cheering for Henry Burris and the Ottawa REDBLACKS. So there were some awkward moments in that Grey Cup, but we did come out on top. Dallas asking, which team's fan base has more reasons to be optimistic? And he narrows it down between Calgary and Edmonton. That's a tough one. Where are you leaning?
I'm leaning that it's a tough one, but honestly, I think it's both because, Calgary has improved quarterback. They've gotten a couple, better players back with them. But at the same time, Edmonton, I think the biggest part in Edmonton is getting Max Simic there because we've seen what he was able to do with Vernon Adams in BC, and Trey Ford is, very similar to Vernon Adams when it comes to his style of play. So I think as long as, they can get the protection there on the O-line and stuff, I think that, good things. I think good things are going to happen with both franchises. I think if we thought there was parity this year, I think it's even going to be closer next year in the West this upcoming season. So, it's a cop-out answer, but honestly, I think both fan bases really have a lot to look forward to and to be optimistic.
I know I said continuity is the most important part like 5 minutes ago, so sometimes the teams with the most changes take a while to get going and to really settle. I'm not going to be a coward. I'm going to choose a team, and I'm just going to say Calgary, just because of the experience factor. I think Vernon Adams Jr. comes into this season with a bit of a chip on his shoulder again. And how many times have CFL players just performed that much better when, they basically got cast off to the side? when Nathan Rourke came back to the team last year. And before his injury, he was playing MOP level football. I know he's going to learn a new offense with Dave Dickinson and all that. Now, I know the Elks have a strong running game, but the Stamps bringing in Dedrick Mills, again, re-signing him. Hopefully he has a clear head, and he's put that personal issues behind him. He gets the whole training camp and the whole season carrying the rock for Calgary. I like that. And I think Reggie Bagleton's going to have, and we know how consistent he is, the leader in that receiving core. I think he's going to have a big year with Vernon Adams Jr., and I do think maybe VA will be able to recruit a Geno Lewis or a Justin McInnis, who was a free agent with BC this year. Tyson Philpott's sticking around, and they bring a Rimolade to the defense in Calgary. I don't want to sell Calgary as being, a championship contender, but I'm liking what they did this offseason. And I think some of that experience is good for the Stamps.
Yeah, and they're finally getting the turf replaced too, so that's going to be a big thing. Hopefully that'll limit some injuries for all players that play there, but more specifically for the Stamps who end up playing those 9 games.
That's an interesting kind of point, because they've been seeing a lot of injuries among their DBs and receivers in Calgary. Malik Henry missed like all of last season. And what a deep threat he is for the Stamps. He comes into this year healthy. That's going to be great for them. And Jalen Philpott extended with the Stamps as well. So, look at the guys we're talking about in Calgary. I think there's potential there if they can keep that and get that locker room together. Now,
might only be one season that they miss the playoffs. I could go for about 10 more, to be honest, but
this last question from Chris asks, what is our training regimen during the off season? Well,
non-existent.
I hope my doctor is not listening and my chiropractor isn't listening, but I'm almost through my Christmas treats. I got about a day and a half left, and then I'm going to try to get rid of the processed sugar out of my life a little bit and attack the new season. So I'll be going for nightly walks. That I'm being serious. This is after I finished my 1 pound Reese's peanut butter cup. I saved my best Christmas gift for last. I'm going to try to split it up over 4 servings. That's all I'm going to say.
Those things are too much for me. Too much
for
me.
Or is it half a pound? It's not 1 pound, is it?
I think it's half a pound.
Okay.
But still, it's huge.
Maybe I'll just do it over 2.
Howard, just do it over 1. Get it over with. Yeah, I'm hoping to start doing some nightly walks too. That is the goal, and it might be nice to use a gym membership I've been paying for a very long time. But yeah, ask us again in a couple months, Chris.
Or was he looking for a humorous answer? Because last weekend,
I'm into fitness. Fitness food in my mouth.
Because last weekend in Edmonton, I went to Empire Strikes Back with a 70-piece orchestra, but before that, I went to a Ukrainian buffet, and man, I put in some good work. So, yeah.
I had the taco salad at Fuddruckers before Sum 41 this last week, so.
You went to Fuddruckers and had salad.
Dude, the taco salad at Fuddruckers is next level.
Really?
Yeah. It comes in the giant tortilla, unlimited jalapeno cheese. See, I've already wrecked the salad, but it was still a salad at the beginning of the day. But yeah, Sum 41 one last time. It's pretty interesting because my first ever concert that I went by myself was Sum 41 on their first tour across Canada, and now I went to their last show across Canada. So
are you going to retire from
Bit.
concerts?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
No.
I might have to.
But
they're too expensive now, man.
Tell me about it. I have Jelly Roll coming up. That was a lot of money. Creed coming up. That was a lot of money. Yeah, that's
Look at you.
Shane McMahon gif.
And
I ain't going to the Polar Bears though.
Hey. Yeah, that's why I'm hurting right now. But come on, CRA, that tax return, less than 2 months away. That's what I'm relying on, man. Man, it was good to talk to you. First show of 2025. We are back, hopefully, going bi-weekly from here on out. A lot of key dates on the horizon for CFL fans, as I believe the legal tampering period starts February 2nd. It runs for a week. And then free agency starts February 11th, which means there's going to be a pile of re-signings between now and then. I'm Travis Currah. He is Sheldon Jones. You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out on your favorite podcatcher. You can support the show on Patreon. Visit the website at twoandout.ca. And, of course, like and subscribe if you want to see our hairy mugs on YouTube. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks, CFL fans.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.